Have you ever noticed how easy it can be to know what everyone else needs? And how strangely difficult it can be to answer the question, what do I want? I've been noticing this more and more. You ask a woman what her children need, and she knows. She knows who needs new shoes, who has an appointment coming up, who's struggling at school, what needs to be signed, what needs to be bought, where everyone needs to be next week. Ask her what needs to happen at work, and she probably has a list. Ask her what the house needs, what the family needs, what her business needs, what her partner needs. She can tell you. But sometimes when the question becomes, what do you want? There's this pause. And I don't think that pause means there's something wrong with her, with you. I think the pause is worth paying attention to because sometimes we become so practiced at responding to life that we stop noticing whether we're actually participating in the direction of our own lives. Welcome to the Primal Priestess, where intuition, embodiment, and ancient wisdom meet modern life. August has always felt like an interesting transition to me. Summer isn't quite over, but you can feel life starting to shift. School begins creeping back onto the calendar. Work changes, vacations end, schedules start filling. We start thinking about routines again. And there's this collective feeling of, okay, time to get everything back together. But I've been wondering about something deeper. As you're putting everything back together, where are you in the life you're rebuilding? Because I think it's possible to become incredibly competent at living a life that you haven't consciously chosen in a very long time. And I don't mean that dramatically. I'm not telling you to quit your job, leave your relationship, move across the country, or burn your entire life down because you suddenly realize you'd rather live in a yurt and grow lavender, which sounds lovely, but let's pump the brakes. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something much quieter. When was the last time you genuinely checked in with yourself about what you want now? And this is a question I find myself asking a lot recently. It's not what made sense 5 years ago, not what your family expects, not what you're supposed to want at this age, not what would make everyone else's life feel easier, not even what the woman you used to be wanted. What do you want now? I've been seeing versions of this question show up in conversations with women who are functioning, women who are responsible, and women who are capable, women who have spent years building family, careers, businesses, relationships, and lives. And yet somewhere underneath all that competence can be this quiet uncertainty. I don't really know who I am right now. I don't know what I want. I don't know what excites me anymore. I don't know what's mine and what I've just been doing for so long that I stopped questioning it. And I think we need to be careful about immediately labeling that as an identity crisis. Maybe sometimes it is, but sometimes I wonder if it's something much simpler. Maybe you haven't asked yourself in a while. Think about how much of a woman's life can be built around response. Someone needs something, you respond. There's a problem, you solve it. Something needs to be scheduled, you schedule it. There's an emotional situation, you hold it. Work gets busy, you handle it. The family needs something, you figure it out. And none of these things are inherently bad. Caring for people isn't the problem. Being responsible isn't the problem. Having obligations isn't the problem. But when your attention is constantly directed outward, eventually your signals can become quieter. And then we can mistake unfamiliarity with ourselves for absence of self. I don't know who I am anymore. Maybe you're still there. Maybe you just haven't been in conversation with yourself. And this is where I think intuition gets misunderstood. We sometimes imagine intuition as this very clear spiritual voice that tells us exactly what to do. Go here, leave this, choose that. This is your purpose. But I think intuition can begin much more quietly. It can begin with noticing. I don't enjoy this anymore. I miss doing that. I feel lighter when I'm around these people. I keep thinking about this idea. My body tightens every time I agree to that. I thought I wanted this, but now that I have it, something feels different. I keep craving more space. I miss being creative. I don't know why, but this matters to me. Those little observations may not give you an immediate life plan. They're information. They're part of knowing yourself. And I think sometimes women override those signals because they don't seem practical enough. We ask ourselves what we want and immediately follow it with, well, that's unrealistic. I don't have time. That would be selfish. That doesn't make sense. What would everyone else think? How would that even work? Notice what happened. You asked yourself a question and then immediately started negotiating against the answer. So maybe one reason we stop knowing what we want is because we've learned that wanting something doesn't matter unless we can justify it. Isn't that a twisted way of thinking? And desire doesn't always work that way. Sometimes desire is simply information. It doesn't mean you have to act on every impulse. It doesn't mean every desire is your destiny. And it certainly doesn't mean your responsibilities disappear. But being able to hear what you want is part of having a relationship with yourself. You can hear a desire without obeying it. You can notice it without reorganizing your entire life around it. You can become curious about it. Why do I want this? What is this showing me? What feeling am I actually craving? Maybe you think you want to move, but what you're craving is space. Maybe you think you need a completely different career, but what you're starving for is creativity. Maybe you're fantasizing about running away for a week because you haven't had an afternoon where nobody needed you in 3 years. Maybe what you're longing for isn't a new identity. Maybe it's room to experience the one that's already changing. That's why I don't think the answer to I don't know what I want is to force an answer. Sometimes the practice is rebuilding the ability to notice yourself. What draws you in? What drains you? What are you curious about? What have you outgrown? What do you miss? What have you been pretending not to care about? What keeps returning to your mind? What feels different than it did a year ago? You don't need to turn every answer into a decision. Just notice. Because August is a season when we're about to start making a lot of decisions again. Calendars, school, work, commitments, routines, appointments, money, family responsibilities, fall plans. Life starts tightening back into structure. And before you automatically fill every available space, I think there's value in asking, do I want to build this season exactly the way I built the last one? Maybe the answer is yes. Maybe you love your life. Maybe there are simply a few places where you want more breathing room. Maybe you don't know. That's allowed too. But don't confuse not having an immediate answer with having nothing inside you. There is a difference between being lost and being out of practice listening. And listening can be practiced again. So sometime this week, rather than asking yourself the enormous question, what do I want from my life? Try something smaller. Ask, if nobody needed anything from me for a moment, what would I notice that I want? Don't make it productive. Don't make it profound. Maybe you want an hour alone. Maybe you want to call someone. Maybe you want to move your body. Maybe you want to make something. Maybe you want to sit outside. Maybe you want to finally make the appointment you've been postponing. Maybe you want more affection. Maybe you want more challenge. Maybe you want quiet. maybe you just don't know. Stay there long enough to become curious, because this month we're talking about reentry. But not just re-entry into schedules and routines and everything that comes with fall. We're talking about re-entry into your own life. And that starts by noticing whether you're actually in conversation with the woman living it. If this conversation resonated with you or something you've been feeling, I invite you to follow Primal Priestess, like, subscribe, and stay with me through this August Reentry to Self series. We're going to explore some of the ways women can become disconnected from their needs, their care, their identity, and the lives they're actually creating. So comment below and let us know so that we can support you. What conversation are you having with yourself? And if you feel like something has been off physically, emotionally, or energetically, and you'd like another tool for exploring the patterns that may be contributing, you can always message us or click the link in the bio to learn more about the remote energetic bioscan. But for now, don't rush to find an answer. Just start listening. And until next time, trust yourself a little deeper, soften into your truth, and remember who you are beneath the noise.